On today's show, are all the verses meta? Will Zuckerberg teach us that AIs really will never have human emotions? And will I ever stop getting sick? I really truly meant to get some more content out, even some more TikToks and YouTube videos, but I swear I've been picking up one variant after the other, and I'm pretty sure I have been sick more times than exist variants, so probably been bouncing around through some flus and some colds. Where I'm picking this all up, I don't know. I'm just attracting it. It's been fun. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure my immune system's been taken to task, and so hopefully 2022 go a lot better. And I'll just resort to a hazmat suit. I don't know, put a bed here and sleep in that and live in the metaverse where I can't get sick. Hopefully. Speaking of the metaverse, there's lots of debate over whether Mark Zuckerberg is going to become the sole owner of the metaverse. And, I have to kind of question this logic. I think there might be even more important questions to be asking about the metaverse. And he's not the only participant that's really taking the lead on this. Jack Dorsey even took to Twitter. He was attacking all kinds of CEOs, not wanting the metaverse to be some sort of corporate battleground. But the thing is that there really is infinite metaverses, though. So there's not really, to me, any concern that one will become dominant over another right now. When you compare this, where the space is, to the internet, it's kind of like still web pages. So we're still missing so much of the utility and so much of the technology that needs to be built around these things, which I think leads us to the more important question that's kind of bugging me, which is this space actually growing too fast? And I don't mean by like the technology wise, but a lot of these new companies or even these new coins that are being built right now, and when I say coins, I mean cryptocurrencies. A lot of these companies are going out, they're hiring big teams, development teams, and this might not apply to bigger players like Apple or Facebook, but a lot of these smaller corporations are new startups that are trying to build these things into the metaverse, either with the blockchain or even just build new coins. When you start looking at the numbers of hiring that's occurring, the amount of employees that are being taken on, and the fact that we might raise interest rates, it becomes quite concerning. How many of these people are going to be able to have sustained jobs, especially maybe past the launch of these companies? Getting these things built from the ground up, it takes a lot more manpower than it does to operate them. Once, they're all digital, so once they're operated, they're pretty fluid, and it's getting them off the ground that matters. The thing is can you sustain your capital flow through that growth period? Or is your debt going to be too much? And can you afford to keep all those people on staff while you're trying to get everything off the ground? One of the things that we saw in the dot-com bubble was this massive hiring. There's all these new startups. All these new people were going to go into these new industries and areas. And then when the crash happened, there was all these massive layoffs. These companies weren't making enough profits to really justify the amount of hiring they'd done. This environment's looking like it could edge even closer and closer to that type of crash. And that's the number one thing I'm concerned about, and the ripple effects that could have on the rest of the industry. So there could see a small time period where maybe Facebook really does dominate things, or maybe Apple is the one who dominates things. Apple's kind of leading on the hardware front, and then Facebook's kind of leading on as far as like user base goes, and as far as accessibility goes, they seem to be kind of edging towards that. And the combination of the two is always going to be necessary. You're going to need the mass production of hardware that can power the metaverse, which you're kind of seeing in the new Apple products. And they're going to need software that backs that up. Now, you might not always have the same companies with the same things aligned, and they might not always exist in the same metaverse. So, because remember, there's infinite ones. I think at the end of the day, though, what you're going to see is a big push towards complete decentralization. And Jack Dorsey's been all over Twitter. I guess he quit, and so he just feels the need to say all the things that he's been holding back for years and years. And he's kind of criticizing corporations for kind of wanting to take over the space. Obviously, I hope everyone recognizes the hypocrisy there, as he limited many things like free speech on Twitter rather than it just being a decentralized space, something he could probably have done. I'm assuming he had people on the board that must have been attacking him for that, because that seems like the most obvious thing that he should have done, but instead he just left and then criticizes everyone else for things that he didn't do when he was in charge of the company. It's, it's a weird life. So, when it comes to the eventuality I see is that these things will eventually be built on blockchains to protect people's data and information so that it becomes personalized, so that they have full control over that. And then you develop an attention economy where, you get paid. Let's say you watch an ad and you'll get paid directly for that ad, with the cryptocurrency. And that ad that you watch will probably be in the metaverse while you're exploring some world or checking out Snoop Dogg's new digital real estate, or even watching the NFT of Joe Rogan React's digital real estate. What? Unlike Joe, I'm very less doomsday also about the metaverse space. I don't think people will just holistically want to live in these things or these areas or these spaces. I do think it'll be a lot like gaming, but I think it could replace a lot of different experiences. And touching on that, I also want to reiterate what I think a lot of people might be missing is the AR side of this experience, like an extra layer over the world we live in now. One of the things I've been saying for a minute is I wish Snapchat would have digital art that would have a geographical footprint, so that people could put an NFT on the side of the St. Louis Arch, or maybe one on the Statue of Liberty, and then people could bid on that piece of art that actually has a geographical location that they can then pull out their phone and pull up Snapchat and look at it. I'm big on that idea. I'm big on concepts like that, whether it's even turning an abandoned warehouse into an art gallery or something. I think interactions like that will be huge, because there's just something about real life that's very real, and there's certain things that are going to take ages to mimic in the metaverse. One of the things Joe might be missing that's very integral to our interactions that we're unaware of, it's an evolutionary and biological thing, is hormone releases that we get from when we interact with people. And these are unconscious things that we interpret and perceive, that, we aren't conscious of this, but the difference will be felt when you're in the metaverse interacting with people. Regardless of how real everything looks or might even feel, you have to even nail things that you're not conscious that you're aware of in real life if you really want to mimic real life. That's extremely difficult. That will take a large amount of time to really replicate. And it's not until you get to that level, which probably takes some sort of, even if you could connect your whole mind into the metaverse, you would still, unless you were feeding off maybe the person's memories of smells, which would be extremely faulty, extremely faulty, you would have to then mimic the smells and scents of literally every single thing, and you'd probably need an AI with the quantum computer to put, or just years and years and years. I mean, just it would take so long to do. But the AR experiences, I think, will be massive, because it's something you can do with people and you can interact with them, and it's still a way to incorporate the metaverse. These things can also be reflected in a digital world that you can visit, and I'm looking more from the gaming side. I think there's some applications for the sports side that would be cool. I'm kind of looking forward to maybe you want a professional coach and he can work with more participants if they're in a digital gym and boxing characters, and then he can go around and coach them or give a class. He's not constrained to how big his gym is or the location of it or any of that. It's just can people get that hardware? Stuff like that is really interesting. I think it's also really shouldn't make people worried about Peloton even unless they get the right partnerships, or there's a lot Body's another company that I've become concerned about because of these potential metaverse possibilities. Granted, they're going to need to fix these headsets, because I've put one on and I work, I'm an active person and I'm not wearing that thing while I do any sustained exercise whatsoever. Is not happening. But if you're doing it, work on your golf swing or something, I doubt it would. Well, actually, it might go flying across the room. I'm sure there's certain headgear that at least keep it on your head. So that'd be interesting. Hopefully it's sweat resistant as well. Now what will be sweat resistant is going to be the e-commerce side of the metaverse. And that's what I think is probably the biggest thing that besides the gaming and besides exercise, or I guess I should say more specialized training. I think e-commerce is going to be massive on the metaverse. You're going to be able to try on all these different clothes. It's going to be fairly easy to get your proportions. You could probably even just have some sort of process to log them in. And I think a lot of clothing stores will start to adjust to this. And who I'm looking to be a leader here too is going to be Lululemon, who already has like a mirror product that they have on the side for fitness. If they could really kind of repurpose that to maybe a metaverse experience, that'd be another, I guess you'd call that AR experience. That'd be really cool to see. And that should be, now you wouldn't need just that product, but that's just one example of so that it could be really cool, I think. Or even if Snapchat, had a app where, go inside the Kohl's store and then it can then virtually, put a rack of clothes and you can go through them in the room or something. That's pretty advanced, and it might seem like that technology is far away, but I think, as these companies start really competing with each other to get to that spot, and, I think that's why we saw Snapchat buy Boston Technology. Facebook's very adamant about their AR. Microsoft's making AR. Google's making AR. Meta is making AR. I think this will start to really ramp up, and that's what I'm looking for in the metaverse from the large companies. As for like the world builders and the different more niche experiences in the metaverse, I'm kind of concerned about the sustainability of that and whether we'll see like an early internet phase will be the big fallout, and that kind of also plays into the crypto coins as well. Like, let's keep an eye on those. Some of those smaller projects. Let's keep in mind, I'll do a separate video. I'm going to kind of cover the different setups of the proofs and the different governances of some coins and how they historically size up, in the real world. A lot of comparisons that could be drawn there. And we'll do that on the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you tomorrow for some new videos, which we're going to be trying to put out on daily, hopefully daily. That's what we're aiming for. That's the goal for 2022, but we're starting now because if you start on New Year's, you always fail it. Everyone knows this. I'll see you on the next show.